This is part 2 of the Storytellers Lounge interview with Helen Levin.
That I was thrilled to be included in a book by this lady who's no longer with us, Hedwig Brenner, a German Holocaust survivor, was writing as a book called Jewish Women Artists from Around the World. The German government, post-Holocaust, gave her a stipend, and she gave us some hundred and some odd euros to each artist for participating in the show. And I brought a small painting in my suitcase, and it was on the wall in at a gallery in Berlin. And then, because I knew a Dutch art collector who discovered me in Artist Equity's show in New York and told me he liked my work very much. He was a collector, and he didn't buy my work, but we were friends. And when he became 90, which was a few years ago, he's in his early 90s, he published a collection of his art. And he asked me to write an essay because this man, Jan Verhoeven, a Dutch art collector of abstract work, believed that thinking or exposure to abstract art, which is, by the way, popular. Abstract art is popular in the middle classes of Holland. Americans haven't taken quite as well to abstract art. And the piece is The Legacy of Abstraction, One Artist's View. So I describe how I got inspired to work abstractly from basically looking at art history, in all the great works, whether it be line, color, shapes, textures, spatial relations, composition. That's all abstract. I think of the staircase I saw in this building that I see reflected here, and really compositionally very exciting to look at good architecture.
In this part of the video, Helen shares the way in which she developed special programs using art to help people learn to read.
Troublesome, but I realized as a teacher, I wanted to make a creative contribution to people's lives. I could see things that other people weren't seeing as an artist. Ways to help people. One of the ways I help people is I recognized that in adult basic ed, which I did for the city, adult basic literacy, people were having trouble learning how to read. And as a result of the program I did for the New York City Board of Ed, Department of Ed, for an adult basic learning center, where I had a group of adults reading on grade 1 and frustrated they couldn't go test-wise beyond that level. They did a pilot project for 6 months where we drew, seeing spatially, negative, positive space, eye-hand coordination exercises, visual memory exercises, on and on, and drawing with the whole arm. Guess what? Next thing I knew, there were cursive writing for the first time. Their handwriting developed. They could copy, not only copy, in some cases, some were drawing. And a lot of programs I did with children, the same thing. Perceptual training through drawing, I called it, and results I've written up in School Art Magazine.
These are papers you're giving away at your show?
Yes.
So when is your show, by the way?
It starts toward the middle of May 2024 and goes through full month of July at St. George Library's reference room. They renovated the building, and in the basement they have their reference, which is a nice space, beautiful space.
That's a real contribution. That's going to make people going to feel more competent.
Thank you.
Going to feel they can do things they didn't think they could do.
I'm so glad, because those guys were so thankful. They were bright guys, but they were just stymied with this whole issue of literacy. Then I wrote an article for the National Art Education Association that drawing is a very important foundation skill beyond just being art. Everyone needs to have some experiences, and freehand drawing is the term I would use. And finally, And this was the chutzpah piece, I call it. Leonardo is a magazine that comes from MIT. It's called the Leonardo Journal of Art, Science, and Technology. While my son was going to MIT, he said, I know you've done some good work in accelerated drawing projects with your adults. You could do it during January when MIT opens up something called Independent Activities Period, IAP month, where people teach who are either faculty, students, or invited guests. And I have a picture of me teaching this course. And I taught all the techniques for immediate responses in drawing. While I was at MIT, what happened? I found out there was a new professor who wrote an article called The Death of Drawing. And I got my hands on that article. And in it, he said, architects no longer need to draw. You just need a computer, my friends, And I wrote an article in refutation of that. The nerve of a person who's not a faculty member comes up with a piece called A Response to William Mitchell on the Death of Drawing. When I look at that piece, I realize that I didn't even say enough, because I've since learned from architects that you can't talk to a client without doing a sketch. You need to be able to draw. I substantiate that some of the top architects today, including Frank Gehry, who did the Bilbao Museum of the Guggenheim there, design, he made that, all value the freehand drawing process in their development of an architectural design. And they not only published it, but I can't credit my influence in any way, but as I look at MIT's programs today, I see an openness to art.
And did you say that you did a show with your son?
I did an exhibit in 2011. I presented a proposal to the late Elizabeth Egbert, the head of the Staten Island Museum, and it was called Gesture in Paint and Software. My paintings are gestural abstractions, and you see brush strokes and so forth. That's the essence of my work. And my son had created back in 2000 to 2010, interactive pieces, which in those involves the public doing things right on little tablets in the museum.
To see more of this interactive video and more of Helen's work, please visit her website, helenlevin.com. And Helen, I can't thank you enough. I've had a wonderful time spending time with you. And we will be back for your show for sure. Viewers, please subscribe and comment. Thank you.